been on live, and this is one I'm doing on the fly, so I'm not even sure who's going to join today, but I really wanted to get on because I had a spare moment to chat to you guys, and I miss you guys, and I wanted to talk a little bit more because I've posted a ton of videos since my last live stream on manifesting consciousness, topics like about states and identity, and really all about how you can actually manifest more effortlessly through the understanding of you being consciousness, and the fact that everyone's you pushed out and that nobody in your reality is separate from you. So I wanted to elaborate on this topic a little bit more and explain to you that really all you need to know, whether because there's obviously a lot of content, we're oversaturated with content in the consciousness community and on YouTube, and on my channel I tend to have, hi Anna, I tend to have a hybrid sort of community that is partly into conscious manifesting and partly into tarot. So I want to explain today a little bit more. What I always like to teach you guys is that nothing is separate from you. I posted a video earlier in this week about how even in a tarot reading or your specific person is not separate from you. And so the key that I want to emphasize today, guys, because we do have a lot of content on YouTube and plenty of amazing creators that teach you about conscious manifesting and techniques, etc. But what I want to explain to you guys is the ease that you can have in manifesting when you take control of your identity, right? Hi Lisa, oh my god, it's great that people are joining. I was like, I didn't announce it and I didn't schedule it. Anyway guys, I'm so happy to see you. I've missed you all. So basically guys, I wanted to, and I'm happy to do Q&A on this session as well. This is going to be a session that's going to be really focused on identity, okay? So consciousness, basically. What is consciousness? I've covered that off in other videos, but basically it's your awareness of being, and this is really all you need to kind of master in order to actually manifest and manifest more effortlessly, create quantum shifts, we would argue, right? Like basically transcending circumstances, time, logic, conditions, etc. Now I have done other live streams, and I think by now you guys who have followed me for a while are pretty expanded, so I think you are on board with this. Techniques, whether you're doing them or you're not doing them, really, and I go through this in a course that I've just launched called Shifted, are all for reinforcing a particular state or an identity. And we've talked about in other, hi Brian, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see you here. You know what, I knew you were going to join, manifested. So guys, basically in the end of the day, I've gone through with you guys in content the fact of the matter that every one of you is each living your own personal reality, and you are shifting through states and identities all the time depending on who you're dealing with or particular areas of life. Now your ultimate identity that you want to be embodying is the one that is limitless, the one that is actually in control of your reality. So whether you're conscious or unconscious, you're always doing this, guys. You have a particular identity, a particular way of identifying self in relation to the world, in relation to love, a specific person, money, family, etc. Now, many moons ago, I think I did a live stream as well where I talked about, I was trying to give it to you more from the logical perspective, though this is nothing to do with logic. I was talking about cognitive bias and why do certain people filter things in a certain way and others don't. And everyone doesn't realize that everything is a subjective filter. I think I gave the example in that live stream about Mary J versus Jessica Simpson has a very different reaction, assumption, etc. or perspective when it comes to a dating scenario, or what they expect from a man, or men what they expect from a woman, etc. So basically guys, your ultimate identity should always be, oh Brian, thank you so much for this super chat, you're too sweet. And Brian's done my course Shifted. I love it. Yeah, guys, I take you through all of this in Shifted, but I wanted to get on and shoot the shit with you guys a little bit. One, I think I just miss you, and two, to go through some of the fundamentals for some of you that haven't had the opportunity to check it out. And you don't need a course, guys, but if you want a course, there is a course. But I'm going to go through some of the fundamentals. So what is your ultimate identity beyond the identity that you're in the habit of being? Which, by the way, like I said, we have many different identities that we can choose in any moment to shift into an identity. It's like kind of a suit you're putting on for the day. and deciding, well, this is who I am. The I am is the ultimate. It's consciousness, which encompasses everything. It's your God state, right? Or your God self. So each one of you encompasses any possible version of anything within you, okay? And we've talked about this on other videos, right? So like everything on your outside is stemming through you. Nobody in your personal reality is separate from you, but you're experiencing versions of people like mirrors, dependent on the version of you that you're being, what thoughts and beliefs you hold within a particular state, okay, which is an identity, and then what you're pushing out. And you have, when you become aware, and a lot of people are unaware, when you become aware of like who you've been in the habit of being, okay, and become observant of that, you have the option to change that consciously, as far-fetched as it might seem or illogical or whatever. So you have an option in any given moment because you encompass any possible state. As Neville would say, like all states are available for occupancy, right? So I know I reference Neville a lot, guys. I never want you guys to make anyone the ultimate or the guru or even me, but I mean, I think Neville probably knew more than me. I only know what I've practiced and what I've tested, and I think you guys should know that you should always put things into practice. So this is not always, when I do my live streams, about giving you like quotes, etc. Though I do have some notes here because I tend to meander, so I will give you some notes later on. But basically, guys, it's all coming down to what are you identifying with and who are you identifying as, and this is when you can transcend circumstances, conditions, logic, time, etc., and create massive change. And I did a couple of videos this week about like, you know, if you want change with a specific person or your love life, stop seeing people as separate from you. I talked about stop shit talking people. And I'm not doing that because I want you to be like a good person, though you should always, you know, put out what you want to receive. But the truth is, it's because they are you, okay? And nobody actually is outside of you. Everyone that you're experiencing, you can have a massive or a drastic shift no matter what circumstances or conditions have appeared, because you are shifting states all the time. When you put a new identity on that you're going to experience your reality through, and a new lens, okay, and detach from the version of you that you were being before, you're going to have a completely different experience. So the same person or anyone really in your personal reality, it's always going to come down to who you believe yourself to be. So, I mean, look, very generic examples of that, guys, are always going to be like feeling rejected, feeling unwanted, but there's lots of subtleties. That's why I always tell my clients to test things out. So like anyone in your personal reality, some of you have a much more like emotional attachment to a specific person. That's why I did actually a video this week about like treating, you put a lot of conditions and importance and like levels of difficulty, etc., on like manifesting a specific person to be different versus say everything that's popping up in your reality that you don't see as difficult. So everything in your personal reality is coming down to how you identify with it, which is coming down to your identity. Okay, so some of you, you know, you've had certain things perceived from one identity, like your specific person, and circumstances that you're very fixed on. Like you have a belief within a particular identity that that specific person, you and them will never get back together. They're not reaching out to you. They don't want to talk to you. They're hot and cold. They're avoidant, all these kind of things. And what you need to understand is that it's all a reflection of a version of you that has a lens and a perception. And if you would just understand that you encompass absolutely every single thing imaginable within you, because imagination is true reality. If you can go within and understand it has nothing to do with the person that's a mirror to you, and that the mirror shifts with you throughout every single state, every identity, then you would be able to actually just be detached from anything on the outside. You're the cause, the outside's the effect, guys. Neville talked about this, teachers talk about this. Everything you're experiencing on the outside is your subjective lens is objectified, okay? So people are like acting out, and they're compelled to act out according to your perceptions, lead up of thoughts, and the way in which you view them, okay? So it's like you're unconsciously assigning them a role. A lot of you, it's like if you would reverse engineer things honestly, you would be like, I have an identity that has a certain belief in relation to that person, that area of life, etc. Now, you can easily also now, if you understand that that was a lead up that had a consequence in one version of reality, that it is not permanent, okay, and is not fixed. It's simply about shifting, it's what I talk about, guys, in my course, into an identity and reverse engineering. So if the thought, the belief, and the identity came first and then the result, then all you would need to do is do the opposite, right? So a lot of you, you love to do techniques, etc. And I do talk about techniques in my course, but I'm pretty consistent, guys, because every live stream I've ever done with you, when I've talked about techniques and people have said, what are the perfect affirmations and what do I need to do to get my SP? I've always emphasized to you guys that the key to effortless manifesting, conscious manifesting, is the belief in self. So any technique, etc., is putting your awareness on something as being available to you or true. Okay, it's like you're drawing your awareness from the infinite possibilities. Wow, that's weird. My earpods I got a notification. You're drawing from your infinite potential because you have every possible experience that you can have from within you as pure consciousness and the infinite field, divine intelligence, and your subconscious is just delivering you whatever you're aware of, right? So by you actually putting your awareness on anything, which is just like deciding or decreeing, affirming or visualizing or doing an imaginal act, you're just selecting something from the infinite field. But to sustain that, or to get it rather than to not get it, which a lot of you do lots of affirmations and you do lots of like quote unquote techniques, why it seems to work and not work for some of you is that you don't have that kind of backing and that knowing of what that technique or tool really is. And the technique or the tool is you actually just selecting something from within self as the truth in the now, right? So everything being in existence right now, not in some far off timeline, and not you praying and hoping outside of you that it will happen. It's something that already exists and you're drawing it into your awareness versus drawing into your awareness something from that was perceived before. So you're shifting into a state where it is true and you're thinking from that place, thinking from, imagining from, etc. And so whether you want to do repetition, consistency in embodying a state, which could be just like getting on with yourself, of thinking as if as the identity that has what you want. People have different ways of going about this, but you have to understand who you really truly are. That's the topic of the video, okay? So identity, like your true identity is infinite. It is like beyond the physical form. It is God, okay? It's consciousness or the universe, whatever you want to say. And then you have a human experience, but your human experience could be, there's infinite potential. It's just coming down to what suit are you putting on, or what identity. Guys, I think I did the last live stream and I was talking to you guys about like, I can be anyone, right? And I told you to take a holistic approach in the sense of like this obsession with like looking at the outside and wanting the outside for validation, which is the opposite of what we're doing when we want effortless manifestation. What you're doing is, it's like you're putting on the identity of a person that already has or is what you want. So that would be, okay, I talked about like the observer, observing the observed, which is your identity. So your identity is, I have the SP. And so you've made a decision, I have the SP. So walk as if, think as if, embody that. Nothing to do with what you were perceiving before when you had a different suit on. Like the identity of the person that doesn't get the person, or that person, your SP is not talking to you. They can't stand you. So it's all coming down to awareness. Now, you can't be in the state of your SP being in love with you and being in a state or a consciousness or in an identity or having the suit on where your SP doesn't want to talk to you and is with third party and you have been separate from it for X amount of time. So if you want to close the gap and stop waiting on a manifestation, I go through this a lot in my course, guys. I've got comments. Hi, everyone. If you want to close the gap, it's all coming down to who you're being and your awareness. So what are you aware of? Are you aware of the fact that your person is not with you, or are you aware of the fact that one, you get to decide because you're God consciousness, selecting an identity. Your identity is that person is with me in the imagination, guys, and without having to check outside for validation, because everything came from you from the beginning. You wouldn't have even perceived or experienced a separation, because there is no real separation, it's an illusion, or that person going with another person. That's one reality, one timeline, and everything's coexisting right now, right? Like everything exists at the now. The version of you with your person exists right now in consciousness, but you need to draw it into your awareness. So you had before an experience because that's what you were aware of, okay, within one identity. Now, anyone that wants to like argue with me and be like, I didn't assume that my person was going to leave, or they are going to go with a third party. You were either in the identity that thought that it was possible, or you had some kind of a self-concept issue, whatever, okay? So let's talk about possibility, because even Neville talked about like, this is faith, right? So faith in the unseen. So do you need to believe in a manifestation? First of all, you need to believe in your God power, which is why I'm doing this live. Your ultimate identity needs to be like, I'm God consciousness. Then I get to select experiences, my lens, what I decide is true for me, forgetting about anything that I have perceived before, detaching from the outside. I don't need the validation because I'm God. Then the identity is, I have what I have because I said so. Now the knowing is the faith. Now you may not believe something that is wildly different to what you have ever perceived or experienced, but a grain of mustard, I think, is what like Neville says, is like faith could be like a grain of mustard. It's the belief even in the possibility of something, even that is sufficient. Now, if all possibilities exist at once, and even like, you know, I like to reference quantum physics and quantum theory, right? And even like Joe Dispenza talks about that, and even quantum physicists who are into mysticism talk about that, right? But it's like, if every single possibility exists right now in the infinite field, then all you need to do is accept that it's possible, not impossible, that your person that you perceived as from a moment ago from one identity, the way you were observing them, didn't want you. You need to say, no, they absolutely want me right now. And that is it. And where you're getting in your way is you're getting very logical about things, guys. And I've talked about this on other streams, and I do cover this off a lot in Shifted. For anyone that has not checked it out, you know, I put this together because a lot of you in the tarot community don't, you know, get the exposure. There's plenty of great content and coaches online, and I can definitely give you references to my favorites. But like, I wanted to put together a space where you really get like the core foundations down. Okay, and so I do take you through, you know, what really manifesting is, conscious manifesting. I mean, we're all master manifestors anyway, guys, so that's why I'm saying it's not like you need a course, you're doing it anyway, but I take you through like truly embodying, you know, this knowingness of you being the power, nothing outside of you, being able to decide what you have or what you don't have, because you have everything within you. I take you from the desiring to the having, because that is pretty essential if you want to close the gap. So basically, guys, a lot of you who are doing a ton of techniques and say that nothing ever works, or why are you waiting, or something seems harder than another thing, your entire reality on the daily, whatever is popping up, you're manifesting it, guys. Believe it or not. Why is it that you could think of, I did this in my last video that I posted this week. It's like you think of a friend and they call you. You might call that coincidence. You might call that telepathy. It's not. It's you tapped in and accepting something as natural and neutral, and it's just like cool. And then with like, say, other areas of life, you see them as harder. Now, like I said earlier in the live stream when I talked about other lives I've done where I explained to you, it's like, why does Mary J think one way about men or dating, and Jessica Simpson thinks in another way? They're not different. We're all actually the same. We all encompass within each of us every single possibility, okay? And each of us, our desires are meant for us, but like we have formed, conditioned assumptions and beliefs within one state. So in order for you to get out of this waiting period, or, you know, feeling like, okay, you can manifest a text from your friend versus like your SP to be madly in love with you and with you, forgetting about the fact that there's like third party circumstances, conditions, any of that. You need to get into the understanding that everything is you and it's a selection, and you're putting certain levels of importance or difficulty purely through your perception of it. It's like beliefs. It's either conditioning from childhood, from society, from experiences you've had where you formed a conclusion, which you can, it's like it appears that it's just this is how things are, but it's literally as simple as saying, no, that's not how it is. I'm the identity where that is not the case. Like Jessica Simpson versus Mary J, guys. Now, I explained that in that stream. I'm like, well, they have different assumptions, but one has an assumption about an area of life, and then the other one thinks that area of life is like easy, guys. So hi, Halsey, I'm having a hard time trying to shift into the new state identity, trying to close that gap. Okay, Grace, so who do you truly believe that you are? Is this in relation to specific person? I mean, ultimate state identity is really, what do you firstly assume about you, which is that you are infinite, okay? Are you relying too much on logic, circumstances, conditions? Do you keep looking outside of yourself to confirm a decision that you're making, that you're manifesting? Is that what you're talking about in terms of closing the gap? Brian, I just got off the phone with Eric. Yes! Oh my God, guys, any of you, that's amazing, Brian. And shifting is a life-changing course. Thank you, Brian. Guys, you should go see my homie Eric's content. He's an amazing coach as well. You know, I love to reference Law of Assumption or conscious manifesting coaches on YouTube. And Eric from The Power of I Am is like, seriously, like one of the best, one of the greatest of all time. So you guys should check him out. He's amazing. He's good. Going to really explain it to you really well. And Brian's just had a session with him. So that's awesome. Brian's also one of my graduates from my Shifted course, guys. So you should check it out. Any of you that are interested in actually doing a course, because with the tarot community, I know a lot of you don't get exposure to it. So I get to take you through all the foundations and the embodiment. And I also do some subliminals and some rampages and stuff. And I explain to you why you're the power. And I also have a module in there where I explain how, you know, your SP is not really separate from you, and how any of you that are looking to manifest an SP really fast, coming back to what I was saying earlier in the live, is that they're no different from anything else. So we help to neutralize and de-pedestalize. I know that that's a weird term. People get funny about the de-pedestalizing thing, but guys, you should not be pedestalizing fucking anything outside of you, because everything is you. And so if you can neutralize the wanting and begging and praying for something outside, that, first of all, that's an experience, guys. That's a state. Everything is a state. Okay, so the state of not having is a selection you're making. A state of having is a selection you're making. It's an identity. The state of manifesting a person being difficult, that's a decision, that's an identity. The state where you think that money is really hard, that's an identity. I mean, even Neville talked about that. It's like, you know, if you think that there's a problem, that's a state. The solution is the state. So like, let's talk about like rejected, chosen, 2 states, right? And I said at the beginning, all states are available for occupancy. So nothing can be experienced without being conceived by man, okay, which is an individual. And really the true reality, which is God consciousness, is the subconscious divine intelligence, right? But you're selecting through awareness of being an identity, a state. So for you to close the time gap, guys, and I go through this in the course, part of like letting go of an old identity, by the way, all identities continue to exist and are existing now. So I'm not even telling you guys to like endlessly dig. Why did that happen? How long is it? This is the opposite. Like, how did it happen? How come it happened? No, there is a version of you right now in existence that you can draw into awareness through your identity, that you have what you want now. Okay, but part of that also is letting go of an identity that accepts, because we're all conditioned in each state with certain beliefs and assumptions and whatever perceived restrictions. And part of that also, guys, is societal conditioning, 3D conditioning, that time, logic, and all of that. Now, even that, guys, logic, etc., one person's logic is different to another person's, okay? I gave the example, Mary J and Jessica Simpson, and I talked about that in that live, which I did so long ago. I was like, one person goes, oh my God, that person is so bad, and I can't believe they did that. And another person would be like, I wouldn't give a shit if someone did it like that, you know? So anyway, but they're not separate from you at anyone, okay? So in terms of your personal reality, I'm saying it's like what you think is possible, or like, let's give another example. It's like some of you have assumptions like if a person grew up in a certain environment, well, it's going to be impossible for them to strive and succeed. Like if they grew up in poverty, it's so hard for them. Or some of you who have grown up with difficult circumstances, you might have been conditioned to believe, well, it's impossible and this is just how things are. But there's other people that broke through certain beliefs and decided who they are, and they achieved different things because they have an individual experience, and it's only dictated by what they believe about themselves. It's an identity. Now, going beyond that, guys, an identity also could be, I'm restricted by logic, time, conditions, reason, and circumstances. Like there is the state or the identity where you're not restricted by that, where time is not a factor. And so that's why also, guys, like if you really want to close the time gap, stop focusing on, like, you can't be in a state that's the state and the identity is what precedes an experience. Okay, guys, believe it or not. Okay, because your thoughts and what you're pushing out there, that's going to be the experience. For example, I've given in other live streams, you know, things go great in a relationship and then someone suddenly turns into a shithead. Or you start seeing all these horrible things and like the mirror morphs into a monster. Now, a lot of you aren't aware, okay, and everyone wants to be a victim, and they want to be like, that person turned out to be a shithead, and then they're like, they've had 5 shitheads in a row, and it's like, who's the common denominator here? But anyway, whatever, guys, I'm not here to blame and shame, but like if you can take accountability, you are the operant power always. You have complete control over your reality, and things are popping up and you're perceiving things, and then people are acting out and they're compelled to act upon like an unconsciously you're assigning them a role. So for you to get a different result, you just need to detach, know your power, and just shift your focus. And it's not about logic, senses, time, conditions. So none of that shit matters, okay, guys? Because it didn't matter before. You didn't give a shit about, you know, anything when you were thinking against yourself, okay? You were like, when everything was going good, well, now you'd be like, well, when it turned to shit, probably doesn't seem logical that it turned to shit, but something within your like lead up of thoughts, and then you were like, yeah, I knew it, okay? So you have to go the opposite way. So forget about that. And also, guys, I think with the logic and the circumstances and the reasoning and the conditioning, you are so much like overcomplicating and overconditioning you being the operant power, the conscious manifester, and God. You are so overcomplicating something that can manifest so fast. Like, you know, I see this a lot in my community. You're like, you know, trying to find, like, you want to come, you're letting your mind, your logic mind, come up with all of the time and the steps and whatever. Your manifestation, any manifestation, guys, good, subjectively good, bad, neutral, which exists within you, is an experience you're plucking. But it's all in existence, and it's all from the moment of you selecting it, okay? Including the shitty one, subjectively, okay? So when you choose what you prefer, which is a desire, which is your God, comes from your God state, your God self, okay, guys? So everyone has different ones, but it's meant for you. When you've chosen it, it's because it already exists, creation is finished, okay? And you selected that. But then what you do is you try to finagle and fuck around and think about all the different reasons why it can and can't and how and all the steps. And now it's going to take time, but what about what happened, perceived a moment ago that they said that, and then which all was perception, guys. You have to understand that everyone is a reflection every single moment. All that matters is the now moment. The only perception that things continue, or that time seems to be a factor, or that a person isn't changing, is your perception and your awareness. So you cut it short. Only be, so the topic of the video, identity, be the you that has it, that is it. So any of the content creators, and they're all great. So I'm never, like, I love so many coaches on this platform, guys. I don't get to do a lot of that because I'm like, you know, a tarot reader traditionally, and then I am giving you guys other tools, right, to think differently and manifesting content. But anyone that's recommending techniques and tools is to put you in a place of awareness of being the person which exists right now that has the fucking thing, because you have it, okay? You literally have everything within you, and you're selecting it, and you are deciding. And so when we talk about thinking from the end, whether you're affirming or just making a decision and sticking to that decision and not going in and out, it's through you. It's not separate from you. Nobody is separate from you. You are everything. It's like you're like the, you know, we're consciousness, and each of us has the entire universe within us and every version of a person within us through us, okay? If that makes sense, or any experience we could imagine. Now, for you to make a decision, well, I am that version. I am the version of me with SP right now. Like totally just detaching from what you thought before or perceived from an identity, because it was always you, and then not paying, the version of you that has it is not paying any awareness, is not conscious of shit. They're not conscious of you being separate. And that is when you're going to close the time gap. You do not need the validation. So everyone that goes, why is it taking so long? It's you looking for validation. It's a paradox, guys. You cannot be, I'm with SP, where's SP? It's really that simple, guys. Or guys, I mean, in terms of, and why I have a passion for doing my channel the way that I do it, guys, because I do a lot about like relationships and intricacies. And no, not everyone on my channel is a person that, and again, nothing. You can manifest a person that you haven't seen from one identity in forever, or a person that has a third party, all that. Some of you are in relationships. I've seen comments with people that are in relationships and there's intricacies. Like, think about that, guys. Like, you can shift, you're shifting all the time, and the people in your personal reality, your SP, separate, not separate, perceived, or with a third party or not a third party, or someone you're actually married to, is shifting with you, through you. You're the operant power. What you're pushing out, and you're shifting all the time. So all this hot and cold and all this crap is you. And trust me, I know, because I've been in lots of, before even a conscious manifester, guys, I had many long relationships. I could have gotten married a number of times. I decided not to, FYI, so don't give me any shit, okay? Why? But like, I became cognizant when I became aware that hot and cold was a thing I had. I would get very reactive to people. Like, what is a trigger, guys? You're the cause, the outside's the effect. I'm not blaming and shaming for people if you have abuse and all this kind of stuff. But it's just, okay, look at your self-concept. There's a story. And no, you don't need to accept less than what you deserve, but you can absolutely turn around situations and have people come in very, very different, more consistent, more loving, etc. But it's nothing to do with changing them. It's changing one concept of self. I am everything. I can be this. I'm the source, so I can select what I want. It's done because I'm the validation when I say that I have it, because I have it. And then I'm only in the awareness of being a version of a person that has it, and that person shows up like that because they're mirroring me, my perception, my concept of self, and how I view them. Okay? Oh my God, you're live. Yes, I am. It seems like my last piece of the puzzle is I find myself just being irritated with people or situations that bug me and I fly off the handle. Okay, Lisa, yeah, I get that. Look, when God's having a human experience, and irritation is one state, like, you know, there's peaceful state, calm state. Do you think that I don't get fucking moody? Like, I am moody. I don't know. I mean, like whatever, but like it's not going to mess up your manifest. Like if you're you're manifesting all the time. I mean, all I would say is like if you're irritated, and this isn't in relation to like you say you're trying. I don't even like saying trying. Say you're manifesting a relationship or something that they're irritated with other people is going to affect. Like, okay, I want to just separate things. So no, you don't need to be positive and high vibe all the time. Like if you're manifesting to be in the best relationship with your specific person and this is the state you're selecting, you know, you're putting yourself in the end. If you're in a relationship with them, would you wake up every day fucking ecstatic? I mean, I've been in relationships, guys, not every day, but I would be like in the knowing and acceptance and neutrality that they're mine. In terms of being irritated with people, well, the only thing I would say is, okay, it is vibration and it is a state. So you might wake up in the morning and feel irritated, and I certainly know this, and then suddenly it's like, and this just shows how much your awareness is your awareness, like you're in a state of irritation. Well, everything, you can find that snowballing, right? Although, guys, sometimes you just shift again. Like you could be irritated for a few hours and then you're like, no, actually, it's fine. If you want to stop short feeling irritated all the time, like I mean, like for example, guys, this comes down to like, what are you feeding? What are you identified with? So this is the topic of the whole live, right? Who do you believe yourself to be? Which would also encompass, and I go through this in the Core Shifted, guys, but like being aware of who you're being, and then what are you accepting as true, and what are you going to feed, and what are you identifying with? So this is the key, right? So like, for example, and this is when you become, I mean, look, no coach or content creator, I believe, has a perfect mindset unless there's some kind of an ascended master or Buddha. Some of them, maybe they have reached that level. I certainly don't think I'm that untouchable. I still have human emotions. But if you can reach a level where most things are pretty neutral, or you're like, well, I'm a master of my emotions and I can decide that that thing means something else. Like, for example, guys, I can go on a walk and literally everyone on the street smiles at me, and you know, guys are honking out the car like, hey hottie, or whatever the hell. And then there'll be like one driver that like is impatient and honks their horn because I'm like walking against this, you know, the red, or it was my light. I think this happened like last week. And it was, I had the walk, but then they like yelled something. I'm in LA. People can, again, it's only because I perceive it as so, or I'm aware of it. People can be assholes on the road. And then they yelled out something like, fucking hurry up or whatever. Now, I was like, oh, what a lovely person. And then I went on, and then it didn't fuck up my day. And then I got more and more of what I was having before. Like, so it's up to you what you're going to identify with. Now, there would be another version of me, or there would be another person that would be like, what an asshole. Oh my God, people are so rude. Now, why would they be feeding that? Probably because there would be an because we can't experience, guys, and this is when, I mean, Neville talks about this. You can't even experience something that you don't have within, and you can't have anything that you don't already have. Okay, so it's like, you already have every possible experience, anything within you, and you can't identify with something outside of you that you don't already have. So in that moment, I could feel like I'm rejected, people don't treat me well, I'm not valued. Now, there is a state or an identity, because all identities of me exist, that would think that way, but I'm choosing not to be that version. Does that make sense? Traffic, daily crap, I have a short fuse sometimes. Okay, Lisa, look, no one's going to tell you who you should be. I'm just saying, like, vibrationally, if you want to be in control of your reality and have less of that, you can decide the opposite. I mean, you can be like, actually, traffic's always so easy. I always get from point A to point B. So we talk about SPs a lot on this channel and love, but you can apply this in every area of your life. Like, whatever you feed awareness to, it's coming from you, and it's going to get bigger. Wherever your focus is going to get bigger. That's why some people who on my tarot channel, they get a little, because people from tarot are not used to this. They don't understand that your focus is your fucking currency, guys. So like when I'm doing a tarot reader, I'm saying, guys, if this is the case, and I emphasize it over and over, I say, detach, refocus, because what you're focusing on, you're bringing into your awareness and it's persisting. If you detach and you put your focus away, it doesn't matter if it's like the complete freaking opposite of what you have been focusing or how you've been focusing before, you're going to get the opposite, okay? With an SP, with traffic, whatever story you keep telling, like think of yourself like an avatar in a video game, and you can choose your avatar and the outside's catching up, and what you keep, you know, your focus on is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So let's like make the awareness on, because you have everything through you, but it's like you're putting a spotlight on something. So, you know, let's put the awareness on I'm so loved, or everything always goes my way, or manifesting's easy, or my SP's in love with me, or whatever the hell it is that you are, you know, wanting. Fuck it in a bucket, my favorite. Yes, the limitless babe. That's excellent. What a lovely person. Yeah, Lisa, no, it's not even sarcasm. I literally did it like the other day. And it's sort of like, you know, when I don't know, I mean, you guys probably saw I had a bit of a tantrum on my channel maybe a month back, and I'll take ownership for that because everyone's my mirror. So I had an assumption that I was going to have a lot of problems with I don't even like saying rebranding my channel, because I didn't do it for branding purposes. I'm not trying to be like a hero. I'm just saying I wanted to do something different because that was what I felt passionate about. And I had an assumption that I was going to get a lot of like people that were, you know, maybe less aware, or didn't want to hear it, or were going to tell me X, Y, and Z. And I got the confirmation, but I also got lots of great stuff. And I found myself that I was feeding that, and it became a reality for me and a state where I was focused on that. And then I just stopped focusing on it after I had a tanty, guys. If you want to check out the video, I think it was like, this is why you shouldn't give a fuck what people think. Now, you shouldn't give a fuck what people think, right? By the way, that's like really died out a lot. I think I shouldn't be giving it awareness again. I'm going to give you an example. You shouldn't give a fuck what people think, because the truth is they're going to think what you think. That was a perfect example. And I think that was a nuanced message that I gave. But like, that's why also when my clients ask me things like, oh, what, you know, I'm doing, you know, I see myself with my SP, but then my mum keeps talking about my SP like they're a piece of shit, or my friends keep asking me about SP, or people, this is outside of SP examples, like people just telling you stuff all the time about like, this is how men are, this is how women are, this is life, that's just how things are. Also pendulums, guys, too much, you know, politics, news, whatever it is, like telling, you know, whatever it, in the end of the day, things are popping up. What you're feeding and giving attention to becomes your reality. Now that doesn't mean it's permanent, because you have at any point in time an opportunity to say, well, no, I'm not identified with that. That's not my truth. So fuck it. So in the case of those of you, because I want to keep my channel more like helpful to you, because a lot of you are like SP related and love related, why would you give a shit if like your friend, so if your friend comes up to you and is like, and I've talked about this on other lives, that like with an SP, when they were flip-flopping, a former SP a while back that now I decided I didn't want to be with, but like when they were flip-flopping, I would have friends coming up and mirroring back to me my state, okay? And then he was flip-flopping too with them. So like, and then when I really mastered it, I was like, holy shit, like literally everything on the outside is just reflecting me and where I'm putting my focus. So when I shift my focus, if I can have a sustained focus in what I prefer, and okay, don't buy into so much like what people are saying, but choose for yourself. First of all, then it stops. You'll stop getting unsolicited shitty advice, or even this has happened outside of love. Like I've just decided like I don't want to talk about certain things, or I don't want people. You can also, guys, I always encourage you to test out everyone as you push out with even non-romantic interests. Like I've been able to shift the way people show up for me. Like someone that's usually not in a great mood is great. Like even my family members, I'm so close with my family now. We had some issues growing up quite a bit, and I just like flipped it, you know? You can't make someone love and stay. You had a tantrum because you got called out on, okay, David, that's fine. That's exactly what I did, but then I ghosted. I guess I tried to manifest them into someone they can't be. No, they're all you. Okay. So everyone is you, Russell. They are you, and you're not trying to manifest anyone into being anyone. Okay? You would need to perceive them as the version that you want, and it's not about looking at the outside and forcing them or manipulating them. Guys, check out my other videos, because it's like, that's tiring going over it again. But like, you just need, no one has control over what you think and assume about them. So enough with this like tarot community narrative about like it's manipulation to assume. Like the example I gave you about the car and stuff, like that guy being an idiot. Like, again, subjective. That guy could have had like the worst fight. He could have walked in on his wife, that particular guy, having sex with another man last night, and he was in a bad mood. Like, did I make it about me? No. Now, in my, I'm not responsible for changing everyone, but I'm responsible for my story and from my experience. And if you test this fucking thing out and stop like trying to pick apart every coach and content creator and like teachers and gurus that teach it, and just do it for yourself, you will see it work. Now, I'm not manipulating a person to love me if I go into my mind and I say, no, they love me, because I'm identifying as a version of me that is love, that everybody loves. I go through this in my course, guys, the ultimate self concept. That person is not different. Why wouldn't you be a person where you assume everybody freaking loves you? And then I promise you, then fucking test it. Because I'm sick of, okay, David, seriously, test it out. It's false because you believe it is, and you can stay miserable. That's fine. I'm not here to convert you. Everyone's not going to know, like, you're not going to know unless you just do this, okay? So Russell, when you say, okay, thank you, you're so helpful. So you're not manipulating anyone. You are everything. People are showing up according to you. Your thoughts have a frequency, guys. A person showed up like, you know, crappy because you're either in a state where you're aware that that is possible. Like, I have an awareness that people in LA can be rude and shitty drivers. Like, I gave an example. It's not really so important to me, and I don't want to change how people drive in LA. If I wanted to, I could, because that's the truth, okay? Through awareness, I could have any experience that I want. But in terms of your SPs, you're like, oh, I guess I can't get them to show up as the version I want them to be. They're showing up as a version no matter what. They're showing up according to what you're pushing out, who you believe yourself to be. Do you believe yourself to be a person that deserves that, to be loved by that person? Or anyone, to be honest. Stop putting anyone above you, or like allowing them to, that a version of them to show you who you are. That is the issue. But two, by just saying, meh, that's not the case, and being a little bit more emotionally neutral about it, guys, like for real, and then going, but I'm God and I'm the identity. Of course they fucking love me because that's who I am. I'm lovable. I'm not telling you to beg or chase a version of a person. You're literally going with your thoughts and you're going, nope, any coach is telling you that, guys. Like, that was my last video that I did, my last two, and you can watch them. You're literally going within, you're going, okay, meh, it doesn't, like, I'm not emotionally engaging with that, because that would be me reaffirming that is true, and something cannot be true without me identifying with it. And if I'm an identity that's always loved by everyone, why the hell would I identify with true that I'm ghosted and rejected, and then go, meh, and then you go within and you're like, they absolutely love me, we have a great relationship. And that's when you collapse time and conditions and circumstances. You're not begging, and you're not you're God in your own reality. So only you get to assume what is true for you and how people show up. And you keep pedestalizing your desires. This is what we go through in the entire shifted course, guys. I give you the foundations. I teach you to neutralize things, everything, because you're God. I'm not your God in your reality either, okay? And then you go from the wanting and begging and hoping to having. Because if you are begging the outside, I don't care if you're doing a million affirmations in the mirror, okay? You might get a little bit of a wet, because wherever your focus is, things will continue to pop up, okay? Like, literally, things pop up in your reality, but you're not going to get the result, because you're in a state and an identity where you're like, that person doesn't really want me, I'm begging them to want me. So you're going to get exactly that result. Loving your shift program. Yes, Vanetta, thank you. Russell, know you're worthy and deserving first, chosen first, change your identity first. Yes, exactly. Okay, we've dealt with David. You might need some mods. Yes, Lisa, I know, but RIP Charlie Kirk, I agree. Fuck it in a bucket, my favorite. Okay, what else? Maybe I should think the person who goes, yes, you should, Russell. That's exactly all you need to do, because first of all, you're not dependent on them. It's not a validation thing. Now, I'm sorry, it is going to take accountability. I'm not telling you you're responsible to change, to have, if you don't want that person, you don't. But if you want that person, the perception and the experience of them ghosting you came from you. Everything somehow comes from you. It's an identity. So stop identifying with it. And it's not forcing. So stop checking. Have they stopped ghosting me? Are they ghosting me? They ghosted me. You're identified with that. So first of all, I did a video on this earlier in the week. Like, all you cynics, also like David, stop lying to people. Okay, David. So what is more toxic? Do you want to go on with your life feeling like, they ghosted me, oh my God, fuckheads. First of all, they're not separate from you. Secondly, you're poisoning yourself. So you're walking every day feeling like, oh my God, all this pain and rejection and stuff. So whether you want to accept what I'm saying, which by the way, if you test it, it fucking is the truth. But listen, I'm not your God. If you don't have any faith in this and you don't do it with conviction, okay, which is the key, you can go to any teacher, any content creator, any coach, they're going to tell you if you don't have the conviction, it's not going to work. So David has a belief. That's his belief. So that's his reality. Okay. It's like the irony was, it's like, I think when I had the tantrum, yes, David, is like this chick. And this is actually perfect, guys. I love it because it illustrates something. Everyone thinks that their reality is totally facts. Okay. So there was this chick, no offense to her if she ever sees this, but she was like on one of my tarot readings and she goes, no, it's not about assumption. Guys only like chicks that are good for their ego, and I'm not pretty enough for my guy. Okay, so, and then I said, wow, isn't that ironic? It's kind of an irony, isn't it? It was like, oh, so that's your assumption, that's your belief. You're saying it's not an assumption, so you think this is just how things are, and no wonder this is your experience. Does anyone have anything to say about that? Because do you understand what I'm saying? So that's her little individual bubble and experience, but she says this is fact. So I talk about that, and I talk about that in the course. So we all think everything is our fact. We don't realize, and I've spoken about this, it's like you're all living in your own little algorithm and you're seeing evidence that's supporting what you believe is fact in your identity. And all it takes is, it might seem delusional in your little bubble, but you know, to someone else it's not delusional, to just switch and get a completely different experience. Consciously, guys, become aware. Why do I think this way? Why am I reacting to this way? Have you ever stopped for a moment, just slowed down and stopped looking at another person and stopped looking at the outside and been like, why am I immediately jumping to this conclusion? Why am I viewing this person this way? It's a projection. It is a lens. And then guess what? You're going to get some kind of, in that version of reality, you're going to scan, you're going to get the evidence of the rejection. The person might even say things. And then you're going to be like, I knew it. If you do the opposite, you're going to get, from a different stage, no matter what the circumstances, conditions, confirmation, because it's always been that way. So whatever, DSM 2000, I promise you she's not lying. Yeah, this stuff is the way that we live. We have been doing it all our lives. Once you learn how to control it, life changes. Thank you, DSM 2000. I love you. Understood, thank you. I did watch the other video, came across the live stream. Yep. Alex, Talsy, my ex made me feel like I was walking on eggshells. Okay, made you feel like you were walking on eggshells. So Alex, I know that you have been working on shifting your self-concept, right? How do I become the person she liked, confident until, so stop making it like, how do I become the person she liked? There is way, she is not separate from you, Alex. So why don't you become the person that knows everybody, of course she likes you, loves you, because you're incredible and you're amazing. First of all, you know that you are consciousness, pick the identity, like you're a fucking superhero. Like literally within your little There is no competition in your reality, guys, except if you perceive so. And this is coming from someone that years ago, before I realized this, I definitely had that belief, and I had not the best experiences. Okay. So also, by the way, you know, like I never had a belief that I wasn't pretty enough. So that girl's comment that I said earlier in the live about like men only want women that for their ego. I had no problem with men liking me for my looks, guys, but I had a big problem even with the looks, that they were going to want someone else, or I'd have to compete. And by the way, with substantially, in my perception, from my lens, not as good looking. So do you see how everyone has a different perspective? Alex, all you need to do is tell yourself who the fuck you are, and your outside is going to reinforce who you are. If you're like, I am amazing, I'm perfect, of course she loves me, forget all of that crap. Alex, I know your story, and you keep putting all of the past and awareness into the now. Who are you being? What do you identify with as true for you? So don't stop thinking what she thought about you. First of all, that is a perception. Secondly, it's like, this is how she thinks because this is who I am, full stop. So I am confident. I'm amazing. She can't live without me. I'm the perfect version. Of course she wants me. Women fall at my feet. Everybody that I want has always wanted me more because I am it. I'm all there is, period. Let's see what else there is. What's going on? We've got, Jacqueline, what helped me just saying that is not for me. Yes, it's not for me. So guys, you also have the option, you don't have to be scared of like making your, sorry, the tripod's a bit weird. You don't have to be scared all the time about your thoughts, but I would say treat shitty thoughts like it's coming down to what do you identify as true. And the more consistent you can get with being an identity that firstly knows that no one gets to decide what's true except you, and the outside must confirm, okay? And secondly, if a shitty thought pops up, well, you can just let it float on by. You don't need to feed and breathe awareness into it. You don't need to say, yes, this is true. So this is why I take you through that in Shifted. I try to explain to you, okay, I try to firstly get you into a little bit more of a state of awareness, which most people don't do. What am I in the habit of assuming about myself? How do I see myself? Okay. And secondly, therefore, what do I assume about the people in my reality, how I think that they think about me and feel about me, and what's been like shown to me. Okay. And now that I know that I can be anyone, what would I assume from that place? Okay. Hi, Tulsi, it's Randy. Hi, Randy. Thoughts become beliefs when repeated. Yeah, exactly, Anne. That's true. So repetition, I'm not a person that says to you, like, okay, do whatever you want to do. You can do robotic affirming. Every teacher has talked about tools, techniques, even Neville, even, you know, Joe Dispenza talks about reprogramming the subconscious, or at least getting into the 0 point, getting into the field of infinite possibility, the quantum field, and then selecting from that place. So like, that's where you can become neutral. You're beyond your previous identity, what you perceived, your thoughts, your beliefs, and then selecting. Other coaches on YouTube or content creators have tools or like recommendations, repetition. In the course, I do say to you, pick it. If you want to do a tool, it's not forcing, it's a reminder of something that is true, because it's whatever you say it is, because you have everything. So you are just literally reinforcing a truth, like that is true. So you're doing it from the end, not begging for the end or hoping for the end, right, guys? I mean, I think I've been pretty consistent in all my videos about that. If you want to do robotic affirming, do robotic affirming. If you want to yell at the mirror 100 times a day, that's totally fine. If you want to just remind yourself, I think in terms of lifestyle, I love techniques, guys, because especially at the beginning when you are starting out, I think it's a really nice way to reinforce your power, in the sense of like, and again, take the approach that I'm giving you. It is not a begging game or a chasing game. It is I get to select any experience. So if I were to think from the end, do an imaginal act, whatever, then I am tuning into that version of me that thinks that way, assumes that way, and that person shows up that way, and this is who I am and this is what it is, and you do it from that place, and then you're going to start seeing things shift because they're your mirror, and then you're going to be like, holy shit, yes, it works. Now, I also have said consistently that, you know, this is a lifestyle. So do I think that you need to do robotic affirmations your entire life? No. That's why I'm like, once you actually, you know, master the fundamentals, which is why I put together a whole course for you guys. Again, I'm not saying you need a course. I did it for my tarot community, okay, guys? There's a lot of really talented content creators. We're saturated with content, but in my particular area, it just seemed that the community just doesn't seem to have the foundational aspects down. So I really put a lot of work into like giving you that, and to help you in the embodiment and to get into the knowing, because I'm not the power, you're the power, guys, okay? But like, this is a lifestyle. So becoming a master of your own reality, okay? And not being a reactor, and starting to become aware. Who are you being? Everything is identity, and there's infinite identities. And from your identity, everything is being reflected. And your identity encompasses thoughts, beliefs, assumptions, emotions, all of that stuff. So yes, of course, Margaret, but he doesn't have free will anyway. So this whole contentious thing around free will, he doesn't have free will, Margaret. He didn't have free will to begin with. Shifted is amazing. Yes, Jacqueline, I'm so glad to hear. Oh my God, you deserve millions of subscribers. Thanks, Margaret. Thank you. Yes, Jacqueline, I'm glad you're loving it. Thank you for the feedback. Let's go. My SP loves me. He was my boyfriend 35 years ago. We reconnected. I believe in my heart he loves me. I mean, this is the thing, guys. So even when you know, I mean, 35 years. So like every possibility exists. I mean, Let's Go's always believed that this person loved her, but you know, she wasn't even consciously necessarily, like with focus. So 35 years, first of all, nothing's impossible. So some of you are so focused on this, like, it's been this long. By the way, one identity, if you just were like, no, they're reaching, like, you're only limited by your beliefs, and your beliefs are in each state of consciousness, identity, okay? You are restricted or freed by your beliefs. So nothing's impossible, guys. Like, again, now, do I have the belief that I can walk on water instilled in me, like Jesus, or turn water into wine? I'm not there yet. But if I had it, I'd fucking be able to do it, wouldn't I? There's no separation, guys. You literally are like, you're just consciousness. You're just like, you are man, you're God experiencing yourself as man, and you know, man made in the image of God. And you basically, it's like you saying something is not possible is like telling yourself, who is God, that something is not possible. So when people talk about time, restrictions, circumstances, etc., you can shift a state and have something turn around or materialize so fast by just taking your awareness off what you previously thought was impossible or conditions, and just deciding this is the state. And I said earlier in the live, it's like Neville talks about that. So a supposed problem is a state, and the solution is a state. So the opposite, right? So that I'm not loved or I don't have SP, the opposite is I have SP. And it's a state of, they're states of consciousness. And I did a video about like the kingdom is within you, and I used the analogy, it was a fun analogy, like you're at a mansion party and you're moving through different rooms. And I even likened why tarot is like a psychological drama. And then Neville talks about like tarot being, the Bible being not in a biblical sense, guys, because it's not about a God outside of you. He talks about it from a metaphysical standpoint, that it's all like a psychological drama, okay, stemming from the mind of man. Awareness observing the observer you is what clicked for me. Correct, Lisa. It's not impossible, that's right. Wow, let's go, awesome. Alex, one of the things she said was I wasn't someone, okay, Alex, I adore you so much, but you keep going back and bringing conversations, things. Can you, guys, listen. If you are, it's all come from you. Anything that anyone has ever said, your reaction to it, etc. Now, they're not complete robots, but it's one version and a build-up of thoughts, and then things were said. Okay, now you had an identity, Alex, of whatever it was, and we don't want to carry that forward, but you keep bringing what she said and all these conditions and that. You keep bringing memory of one version, and I've even done a video on memory and even like talked about Deepak Chopra talking about memory, and I think it was on a podcast, Know Thyself, which is a pretty cool podcast. Everything exists in superposition in the now, okay? And you're taking a memory which was a projection from one place, and you keep saying, but she said that, and she said that, and she said that. Why do you think every teacher says circumstances don't matter? Just fucking let it go, man. Keep it clean. I say this in every single reading, even tarot, and every live and every video. Just keep it fucking clean. Can you just detach? Why are you so, it's all you. It's all you. There is a version where she didn't say that right now in existence. So let it the fuck go, guys. You cling to like these circumstances and conditions and what they said, and then you want them. Like, you're not doing yourself a favor. It's not to do with them, it's to do with you. Are you the version of you that has someone? If you're with her now, Alex, which exists now in consciousness, that thing that you keep focusing on, which is actually what's delaying the manifestation, which is inevitable because everything exists right now, is keeping alive the version of reality that you're selecting, where she's not wanting to talk to you, or whatever the hell is going on, or you believe there's a delay, or maybe she's not going to talk to you because she said this and that. So you're the one that is putting conditions on it. Doesn't matter what she said. Thank you, Lisa. What do you say? Who are you being? Thank you, Lisa. And you can be that version right now. Right now. All right, guys. I mean, it's been 66 minutes. If you have not checked out my course, guys, a lot of what I've said I do go over, but much more extensively, and I actually take you through practices and embodiment for it. I really, I feel like it could benefit a lot of you. No pressure. There's plenty of great content, but guys, in the end, it's nothing to do with content. You're never going to actually experience benefits until you embody it, which is what I do in the course. I really encourage you you should understand the foundations. Knowledge is the key. And then it's really about you accepting your power, believing in who you really are. 1, the God consciousness. 2, consistency in embodying what the identity, and being aware of who you're being, and then knowing you're limitless. And that's it. Okay? And we're in a loving, passionate relationship. That's right. When my SP says something like, I don't want a relationship, say no. Oh my God, absolutely obsessed. I like Sammy Ingram for stuff like that. I think she's been very instrumental. I know people, controversial, whatever. I don't care. Like, what a genius. I mean, she was so like instrumental in teaching people like, it's all just discipline in like, what are you aware of? Like, fuck it. Say the opposite. It's whatever you say it is. It popped up for a moment. It's not manipulation, guys, which is why I go into those sort of topics on my channel, because I know I'm very aware of what like my community and the tarot community, I'm trying to debunk myths in the tarot community. But she's right. Like, if someone says, I don't want a relationship, you'd be like, they absolutely want a relationship, because they're just you pushed out. You're just selecting that experience, okay? One more question. What's your sun, moon, rising? My sun is Capricorn. My moon is Sagittarius. My rising is Taurus. What do you think of listening to high frequency subliminals? I love subliminals, Margaret, Nadia. Listen, don't do whatever you love. Like, for example, I do nighttime tapes. I've always loved subs, and sub makers. There's so many coaches who'd be like, don't listen to subliminals. Do whatever the fuck. First of all, everything that works is because you have a belief that it works. You're the secret sauce. And I've stayed very consistent in every video, in every live stream, telling you guys that I love subliminals. And I'll tell you, yes, the repetition and the consistency, I believe, for me, it's been fantastic. And it's done wonders. Like, when I first started, even before I really went much more deeper into like really expanding my awareness, I got very fast results for quick things. I listen to songs that are like, I get paid to exist. Money comes to me out of nowhere. I get very fast money. Or you want a text, you get a text, but you've got to have the belief behind it. I also did some reprogramming, like subconscious reprogramming. I've even done Joe Dispenza's like quantum Sometimes for a reset, I do his quantum meditations, right? You go into the quantum field. I'm not against any of that. Look, I would recommend, guys, is like when you are, you know, doing any technique or anything really, also just to control yourself, you know, when you feel like you're on the verge of a spiral, it's good to do anything that gets you back into the now moment and gets you present. So any meditation or anything that could also just be taking your, like, just taking your attention off what you, like being aware where your thoughts are going and then taking your attention off that. That could be going into meditation. Or if you're going to do a technique, like you want to do affirmations because you feel like you're quote unquote wavering, again, nothing has to be a big deal unless you say it is. If you're like, I'm the version that gets what I want no matter what, that's not true for me. That's a technique in itself, if you ask me, or that's just a re-identification shifted back into the state. But if you want to do a technique, like you're doing a 10-minute method, do it from a relaxed fucking place, okay? Not like frantic. And do it in a place where you're doing it, when I say feeling, you don't need to do something where you're like feeling ecstatic, but the whole key to getting to like doing a technique, a repetition and anything is for, you know, to get to a point where something feels natural. What is feeling it real? Okay? For example, if you were super rich, are you walking around all day and being like, oh my God, I'm so rich, I am the richest person alive? No, you're not. Like, but you have to get to a point where you're just, this feels natural, because it should feel natural because it's within you. You don't need outside for validation. And I don't mean that in a way like, you know, you don't really need it. Like, okay, what I mean is you have it. But accepting that you have it because you have everything is when the outside gives it to you very fast. You understand what I'm trying to say to you guys? So like, you're just reinforcing something as true as you have it. And yes, your subconscious, like if you repeat something, you're gonna more naturally be that and be in that state. And this is your story and this is who you are, and the outside is going to validate it. Then if you are more in the habit of feeling like something is impossible or is very unnatural for you, okay? You're living in the end, yeah, Subliminal help me stay, yeah, in control, good. Do whatever makes you feel great. Like, you're not dependent on it. It's an aid, it's a tool to remind you who you are and what you have, guys. So that is the key. Like, you know, you're the power, nothing has, the only power that it has is what you're giving it. You understand? Because you have everything within you. You are God, and then you're selecting the version of you in the now that has what you want, and you're reinforcing that. That is it. Just like you were reinforcing something you didn't want. You're in an identity that you didn't want. And by the way, God does not say no. Like, once you, something that you want, you have it. There's nothing that's going to get in the way of you materializing it. You know, and your desires are meant for you, but you just need to stick to the decision and the knowing of who you are. You don't need the validation from the outside, okay? And you didn't need the validation from the outside when shit things showed up. So have the consistency and the faith, even of a grain of mustard, as Neville said, that of the possibility, as much as there was the possibility of the shitty thing, but with the backing and the knowing. So have the conviction, because I fucking said so, okay? Our minds are so powerful. I just tell myself that I am doing other things because it felt like too much work. Yes, DSM, that's great. Whatever works is for you, that's great. Yeah, exactly. Tarot cards are also my tools. Good, Margaret, if they're helpful for you, but not if you feel like don't accept anything as true. Again, like anything that's not serving. If you're in your end now where you have everything that you want, because you do right now, in this very moment, everything through you, your pure consciousness. And if you made a decision, I'm the version of me that has it, you do. And it's inevitable, it's materialized, but you're validating it for you. Then don't identify, that's the whole point of this video. Don't identify as true anything that doesn't serve that end. For example, I'm in the most, you know, SP and I were so in love. Why would you look outside and go, where is my SP? You're not aware of that. It's an embodiment. You're not aware like, oh, SP's not texting me today. He doesn't love me. That's a different identification. It's a different state. You're being the version of you that SP doesn't love. It's not about SP. It's like, who you identifying as? Who do you believe yourself to be? Okay. Now you should have the ultimate self-concept. You should know that whatever you say goes God consciousness. You're just choosing. Then your identity, of course, SP loves you, because why wouldn't they? Because anyone, you're the queen or king of your entire world. I take you through this entire thing through Shifted, guys. And then it should be pretty neutral. SP is the same as anyone. I'm not saying that in a way where you don't have them. You fucking have them already. But as soon as you stop checking and looking for the validation and forgetting what they said, like what Alex was talking about earlier, forgetting the conversation, what they said, what they did, the third party, it's an illusion, guys, a 3D. It's just like, it's moving through you. That's why people can turn around in a moment, show up after whatever. It's like whatever you're keeping alive through your awareness, through your lens, and you're not even cognizant of like everything. You're so limited. So your logic and your 5 senses, you're relying on logic, which is like a point something zero, I don't know what the percentage is of the totality of everything, and creation is finished. So everything that you are selecting exists, and so you just need to just detach from what you have perceived, okay? And the people in your reality, as the operant power, you pushed out when it's like not favorably, like just stop being so, don't engage with it, because it's like then you're reinforcing it. And so if you're like, please, I hope they change, well, you're screaming to your subconscious, you're everything. You're telling yourself, I don't have them, or I don't have them the way that I want them. When you absolutely, all you just need to do is just be like, nah, that was all me, because everything is me. And now here I am, and this is how it is. And then don't check. And this is when you close the time gap. That's it. Okay? I only see them positive, I don't accept. Yeah, good. No, yeah, good, Margaret. All right, guys. I hope that helps. I'd love to see you guys over at Shifted, the course. And if not, I'm going to try to do more lives soon. And I also know for anyone that is on Shifted that I'm going to be launching the Discord component, I think in the next week or so. I'm stepping into the more organized, scheduled version of Talzi, though I haven't, in my perceived one identity, been that naturally. So I'm glad you did RW. Thank you for getting me started on this journey. Okay, I love you guys so much. And also I'll be dropping the next round of readings soon. I'm going to get filming on them in the next few days. So I love you guys, and thank you for joining. I hope that helped. I really love seeing you all on here, and I will. Oh, Margaret, thank you so much. I love you too. I'll speak to you guys soon, okay? Take care. Bye.